Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the HIA-LI 33rd Annual Trade Show and Conference. Our theme today, which I think is appropriate, is back to business. I can't tell you how excited I am to see people. I don't know. Do you feel the same way? I don't know. I feel the same way. I really, really do. We're live. We're actually hybrid. We're live streaming. So you'll see one of our panelists in a moment. And many people, other people are again watching virtually. So, our show this year, so we get a lot of feedback from our members and do a lot of surveys. And we asked, let's talk about getting back to business. How do you feel about it? What's your comfort level? And overwhelmingly, 86% of you said, yes, we need to get back in some form, some way. So we're delighted that today, although this trade show for us, for those of you who have been here over the years, is smaller. We typically get about 5,000 people who walk our trade show floor and go to many of our breakout sessions. This year, we had about 700 that pre-registered to walk the floor. We're very, very excited about that. We're equally as excited that we are following safety protocol, right? Because that's important. So what we're asking is anybody who is unvaccinated, just per the CDC guidelines, to wear a face mask. Those of you who are vaccinated who might still feel a little uncomfortable, certainly we would recommend you wear a face mask. You will see hand sanitizers throughout not only the hotel, but the trade show floor. And thank you to one of our major show sponsors, People's Alliance Federal Credit Union, who gave hand sanitizers to all of the exhibitors on the floor as well. So please, please use those hand sanitizers frequently. And, as anything else through the pandemic, many of you have pivoted and I think done things differently and more effective. We have gone paperless. And by the way, the good news to that is we've saved a lot of trees. I have to tell you, from an environmental standpoint, seriously. So you will see that this year you can scan with your phone a QR code and you will be able to download the entire trade show pullout section. And you will be able to see the trade show floor. You will be able to see the schedule of the day and the breakout sessions throughout the day. So I encourage you to do that. So excited about that. That's something that we will continue with all of our events, our hybrid events as well. So, business doesn't really work without people that don't advocate for it. We know that, right? So I just want to mention, we'll have several local and state dignitaries join us today. Some of them are in the room. Some of them you'll see on the trade show floor. They are, Teresa Santoro will be here. She's the regional representative for Governor Hochul's office. Senator Phil Boyle, Assemblyman Mike Fitzpatrick, Town of Islip Supervisor Angie Carpenter, Commissioner of the Long Island MacArthur Airport, Shelley LaRose, Legislator Sarah Anker, Legislator Susan Berland. We'll hear from a moment from Suffolk County Commissioner of Economic Development and Planning, Natalie Wright, and the Deputy Executive Director, Kelly Murphy, also from the Suffolk IDA. So again, when you see them, please fist pump them, shake their hands, whatever you're comfortable with, but they're here to support Long Island business today. We also have several board members in the room. I'm going to ask you to stand, as well as our board chair, who you'll hear from in a minute, Rich Human. Whoever's a HIA-LI board member in the room, please stand. Yes, Joe? So these are the people who make us look great on a daily basis. I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be surrounded by these types of people. So I'm going to welcome up now our board chair and CEO of H2M Architect and Engineers, Rich Human, who will be introducing Mario Matera, and he will also say a few words. So help us welcome up Rich.
Arrows this way. Am I going the wrong way?
Oh,
The
yeah.
arrows? No. Good morning, everyone.
Felt like you're an engineer.
Yeah, I know, right? Engineers can't follow directions. I will let you know that. So welcome this morning, and I appreciate Terry's kind words for the board, but I will reiterate, whenever we talk about HIA-LI, it's really Terry and her team that have made this organization continue to be as successful as it's been. and leading voice in how we advocate for business here on Long Island. I was talking to a few of the panelists, and even though we've got a scaled down version of the event this year, I'm thrilled that we're here. One, because it's great to see a lot of people that we haven't seen in a year and a half, and typically this session is the signature lunch session for us, and there's nothing like hearing from leaders in the development world in order to really talk about not only their projects, but what's happening on Long Island and the broader economy. And often as some of these great development projects move forward, it's an indicator for where our regional economy is going. So I'm really looking forward to the comments today. But I have the great pleasure of introducing Senator Mario Matera. So give me a second, because I need to talk about good things about you. Not only a huge partner and advocate for Long Island development, and his entire career has been committed to that. Senator Matera was sworn into the 2nd Senate District of the New York State Senate on January 5th, 2021. The 2nd Senate District includes all the town of Smithtown and parts of the towns of Brookhaven and Huntington. He's very supportive of the work that we have done here at HIA-LI and we are doing in the Long Island Innovation Park in Hauppauge. As someone who has lived and worked in the 2nd Senate District his entire life, Mario understands the needs of local families and the need to reduce the impact Albany's tax burden is placing on our way of life. As a longtime union leader in the Plumbers Local Union 200, he has cultivated a keen understanding of the needs of our working men and women, and how a good economic climate is essential to helping local businesses create much needed jobs that provide workers with decent pay and benefits. So now let's welcome up Senator Mario Matera.
Thank you, Rich. And thank you, Terry, also too. Let's give a round of applause to these great people that care about our communities, care about what's going on for our future, please. And this panel. This is a very serious panel up here. It's amazing, when you sit there and say that what's been happening to all of us with this pandemic, and that we're all together, and how things went backwards. But we need to go forwards, meaning that, we need to get people back to work. One of the biggest goals that we need to focus on is everybody here, and this is very, very important for this trade show, our businesses, to make sure we have the people that we could employ. And right now, we all know that, in other words, it's very, very difficult to get people right now to come to work. Government needs to make sure that it's not too easy to make sure that we're sitting home and we're getting paid to sit home. This is not helping anybody in this room or anybody here on this panel. We have to get people back to work. There is people that, in other words, that really want to go back to work, but we need to make sure government is not making it too easy. Seriously, you can look at me and say, what is he talking about? I think everybody in this room knows what I'm talking about, because everybody knows how difficult it is right now to get people to go back to work. So I really, really am so happy to be here, because this park, this innovation park, means so much to me, because when the infrastructure was put in place, that now we could go and add square footage to all the buildings in this park. And this is the 2nd largest park. We want to make sure it's going to be the largest park, which I think that's where we're heading. We need to be self-sufficient, meaning that, in other words, with our manufacturing and businesses, that we here in America needs to be done here. Right now, look what's happening with the car shortage. What's happening with the chips, that, in other words, are made in Taiwan. I look at this park, that, in other words, we can make it here. Am I right? Am I right what I'm saying, guys? We need to be self-sufficient. I am a common sense elected official. I'll never call myself a politician, because I'm telling you, politicians, I'm sorry, there's a lot of hot air. I am an elected official. I'm sorry, you get what you get. Good, bad, the ugly out of Mario Matera. But you know what? I want to get the job done. 10 months. Very interesting up in Albany. I wish everybody would have a little week with me when I was up in Albany, when some of these bills that I have to sit there and vote on, in other words, that nothing could be enforced anyways. I want the right bills. I want to make sure we bring the money back to Long Island. Our infrastructure is key. our roads. Do I need to say anything about that? I was so happy about like even Jericho Turnpike being paved. From 25A, from Nichols Road to Port Jefferson to get roads paved. You know the phone calls, this is about getting our roads done. But infrastructure is key. Just like the infrastructure that was done with that sewage treatment plant over in Hauppauge Industrial, in the Innovation Park, which I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna always say that, Innovation Park. So I am always gonna be here to support and to make sure that we are gonna thrive with this park for the future, to bring businesses, to make sure it's done in America right here. And you know what? I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to speak here this morning and to have a great day at this fair right now today. So please, let's have a great day. And I just appreciate again for being here. And you know, with the panels that's up here, I just want to say, like with Ingle Bermans and Reckless, you know, they're homegrown. They're our families. And I just appreciate that, you know, you guys have an open door policy, that you care about local jobs for local people. And that keeps the economy rolling. Local jobs for local people. And you know what? I will always thank you for that. And you know what? Dealing with Mitch Pally, with Libby, same thing. We care about our area. We care about Long Island. We're Long Islanders. But you know what? Let's just make sure we're together. We have to be a voice together. Strength with numbers always wins. And I say this, and we have to be a voice. And when I need a helping hand to make sure to have that voice to go up to Albany, I know I could go to Terry, I could go to Joe, and I go to Rich and say, guys, I need a helping hand. So guess what? I could be up here a lot longer, but I thank you so much, and let's have a great day.
Is he not refreshing or what? He is refreshing. Thank you.
He's for what?
He's for what? So what? Yeah, we look forward, Mario, to working with you. We do. So although Suffolk County Executive Steve Malone could not make it this morning, he sends his regrets. I think this is the first trade show he might have missed, really, and he felt badly about it. We are lucky to have the Suffolk County Commissioner of Economic Development and Planning, Natalie Wright, who's going to say a few words. Before she does, you know, Mario alluded to it, the senator alluded to it, that, you know, it's very, very important that business and government and institutions and everybody on Long Island collaborate and work together. And there has been no other like Suffolk County. I mean, you guys have been with us every step of the way, certainly helping with this Long Island Innovation Park at Hauppauge project. We really, really appreciate it. So I'm going to invite up Natalie to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. So I just want to say a couple of things really briefly. As Terry mentioned, I'm the Commissioner of Economic Development and Planning for here in Suffolk County. And I just want to say that economic development doesn't come just from a department, right? Sitting in an office creating ideas. It comes from all levels. And so I'd really like to thank the business owners, the employees that are here today, to have the grit, the perseverance, and the commitment to start a business, have a business, keep a business here on Long Island. And also to, of course, Terry and the HIA-LI, of all the work that you guys do. You are a critical link between, you know, residents of the county, business owners of the county, and county government, and even state and federal government, right? Bringing those voices together into, as Mario mentioned, a collective voice and a unified voice to be able to advocate for change and the needs of the business community is absolutely essential. So I really want to thank you guys for all the work that you do day in and day out. And then also our department that continues to hear those requests and then implement program, policy, improvements and changes to help make the landscape of doing business here on Long Island better. So as you know, Mario mentioned as well, infrastructure, right? That's a huge thing for our office that we focus on relentlessly, is wastewater infrastructure, you know, transportation infrastructure, making sure to unlock those basic needs that we need as citizens to live a great life here on Long Island, but also to have businesses thrive. So I just want to wish you guys, a wonderful day today. It's wonderful to be here to see everyone in person. And I will hand it off back to Terry. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Natalie. So, for the last probably 6 years, Kelly might correct me, 7 years when she comes up, our major trade show sponsor has been the Suffolk IDA. And again, we go back to this extreme collaborative effort. And what I personally got out of it is a very dear friend in Kelly, I will tell you. So I'm delighted to introduce her right now. And, the Suffolk IDA was instrumental in helping us lead the way in this Long Island Innovation Park at Hauppauge sustainability study, and is working with us in many areas really to look at some of the results that have come out of that study. So we're really delighted. Before I bring her up, I think we might have a video that you gave us. Yes? Well,
From
we're
startups
watching.
to Fortune 500 companies, businesses are thriving on Long Island with help from Suffolk County and the Suffolk County Industrial Development Agency. Suffolk County.
Yep, we have video, no audio.
That's contract pharma, Cal. Yeah.
That's Rich Human.
That was my Hauppauge Beach.
Oh, gosh. The Dario, a string manufacturer, Jim. No, gentlemen? No audio? Here's Contract Pharmaca, who has 10 locations in the Long Island Innovation Park at Hauppauge, Cannon.
Oh, boy.
You're gonna come up and narrate? Is that what you're gonna do? Okay. We'll just run with this. We'll run with this. That's Seymour, that's Mark Wolf. They're all getting great exposure. Yeah?
Okay. Cannon. Oh, wrong. How to mention wrong. Great.
Good. So help me welcome up the Deputy Executive Director of the Suffolk IDA, Kelly Moore.
Good morning, everybody. It's so great to see everyone in person. I know I've been hosting a lot of Zooms and seen a lot of you there, but it's really lovely to see everybody in person and be back to business as usual, or unusual, I guess we could say. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Terry and her staff. And as Terry said, we've been great partners and friends. We actually joke that we don't get together as often as we should because it creates so much work for the two of us because of the ideas that we have and how we collaborate. But as far as economic development, it's so important, the work that we do in the region and the work we do together as industrial development agencies. It's not only the Suffolk IDA, but there are 4 others. And ISLIP is here today, and they do some magnificent work in the park as well. John Walser, and I'm not sure who else he has with him, but so wanted to welcome him as well. So even though we're navigating through these unprecedented times, I think we're all playing a role in making sure the economy keeps thriving by providing
Thriving in Suffolk County with help from the Suffolk County IDA.
as well as job opportunities for our residents. Industries are really still growing and thriving in Suffolk County, especially in the Innovation Park. More than 50% of the businesses that we work with are in the HIA Innovation Park. So again, pointing to the importance of the relationship that we have. So as an agency, our goal is always to incentivize private capital investment and job creation through the means of providing, among other things, temporary financial incentives that reduce taxes for the short term. A recent 2021 New York State Controller's report listed not only our IDA, but Long Island as the 2nd largest job generator in the state. So that is something that we're very proud of. That is something that we work hard to do. And workforce development, is an economic development initiative and is something that we're taking a very active role in moving forward. And hopefully you'll be hearing some exciting things about that in the future. But our success as an agency is really indicative of the success of everyone in this room. Without the risks that you take as business owners, without the investments you make and the improvements to your operation, none of what we do could be possible. So we know the cost of doing business on Long Island is high, but you've demonstrated time and again the value of operating in this region, the benefits of a talented, highly skilled workforce, unsurpassed quality of life, and access and proximity to world-class research facilities. So I'd like to thank you all for your tenacity, your perseverance, and certainly your commitment to Suffolk County. We are all here together working hard and hope to continue to do that for a very long time. So I just, again, want to say enjoy the day. We have a booth set up. I know ISLIP IDA also has a booth set up. We invite you all to stop by, say hello, and see us in person. Thanks again.
I'm going to tell everyone, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. We had a fun time, Kelly and I, this morning. Anyway, so visit them at booth 11, everybody, right? When you get to the trade show floor. Before I forget, when you walk out of this executive breakfast and you just carry on to the back in the ballroom is where all the exhibit hall and also the breakout sessions are, so you know where you're going after we're done. And the breakout sessions start at 10:30 and then again at 1:30. So we have a lot of people presenting through the day as well. So we have several trade show executive breakfast sponsors. I will invite 3 of them up for brief remarks. Notice how I emphasize brief. And we love them all. We love them all and thank you for your support, but we're going to ask for brief remarks, okay? So the first one is, help us welcome up Mr. Paul Pachter, President and CEO of Long Island Cares.
Thank you so much, Terry. It is really wonderful to be able to be in this room and to see everyone after 20 months of not being able to do that. And we're delighted, as we always are year after year, to support the trade show and other special events that are hosted by the HIA-LI. Long Island Cares is extremely proud to be a member of the HIA-LI and very proud to be doing a majority of our work in the innovative park. And some of you may or may not know that we just took over a second building in the industrial park to expand services and created our new Center for Community Engagement right down the block from our current building. We are at a crossroads right now in the business community. As people who spoke before me said, we don't have enough staff. We don't have enough people interested in working. Small businesses, which really are the lifeblood of our economy here on Long Island, are struggling, and we need, as an industry, whether you're for-profit or nonprofit, to do whatever we can to support those businesses. I'm extremely proud of what we've been able to accomplish in the past 20 months, especially by investing close to $750,000 in the fishing industry here on Long Island. And we're about to invest another $750,000 in the local restaurant economy. So we are at a crossroads, and I'm thankful that we have a governor who is pro-business and is pro-Long Island, and working together with Governor Hochul and our elected officials and leaders and the HIA-LI, I think we're going to come through the darkest periods in the economy, and Long Island will rebound as we always do. and we continue to rely upon the HIA-LI to lead the way. So we're going to have a great trade show and workshops, and I'm looking forward to the day. Terry, thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Help us welcome up Brian Busto, the CEO of Stetson Cyber Group. Is Brian here? Brian is not here. Okay. Well, thank you, Brian. Thank you. I didn't mean thank you for not being here, but thank you, Brian. We appreciate it. And help us welcome up Randy Dreshner, the president and CEO of Island Harvest.
Thank you, everyone. You know, Long Island is lucky in that we are a region with 2 food banks. And the work of both of our organizations is providing well over 35 million meals across Long Island each year, which is absolutely unbelievable when you think of a region that has some of the wealthiest zip codes in the country. And so hunger, food insecurity is an issue here on Long Island. We know how difficult the past 20 months have been through the pandemic, but we're talking about moving forward. And Island Harvest is honored to be rolling out a new institute, Workforce Skill Development Institute, where we will be training and upskilling people who are unemployed and underemployed, people who also are looking to upskill themselves and earn a larger income so that they could become self-sufficient and independent and be able to afford to put food on the table for their families, which is really important. And so we're looking at all of the innovative ways that we can help and support people across Long Island who are in need, who want to work, but need the skills. And so this Workforce Skills Development Institute will be training people in all sorts of areas, some related to the food industry, manufacturing, food safety, warehousing, all sorts of skills where we're all looking to hire people. And what we know is that people are looking for education and certification. And we're really honored to be working with Bank of America, who has given us a seed grant to start this program. And we're looking forward to 2022. And some of the other programs that we have involve nutrition, education, working in partnership with Northwell Hospital Systems to bring good information about healthy eating, nutrition to people who are being discharged from hospitals and clinics and medical programs across Long Island. So it's about the future. It's about looking to see how we can move beyond just giving somebody a can of food, because that can of food is important. It's important for today, maybe for tomorrow, but we really need to help people beyond that. And it's looking at innovative programs where we could do that. And so partnering with so many members of the Hauppauge Industrial Association has been important to us. It's helped us to grow, and we look forward to more partnerships in the future. So thank you for allowing us to be here today.
So, you know, I don't know about you, but as I listen to the people that have come up to this podium, I think to myself, what great business leaders we have on Long Island, and great work is being done. So let's give them another round of applause. So in that spirit, this morning we're going to talk about Long Island development and projects of regional significance. And the senator said before, this is a powerhouse panel. They are people that are leading the way in development. They are people that are leading the way in projects that really are going to really just blow up Long Island in a very, very positive way in terms of the economy. You know, as we look at it, the statistics tell us that by 2025, 75% of our workforce will be young professionals and millennials. And, you know, we've seen other studies that have said many kids on Long Island today are leaving Long Island or thinking about leaving Long Island. So we know that we have a challenge, a big, big challenge on our hands. These types of development projects that you'll hear about today are the things that can help us keep our kids here, right? A place to live, a place to work, a place to play, as we say. So I'm gonna introduce our moderator this morning, who's been waiting very patiently. He's taking a lot of notes. I don't know what that means, but he's waiting very patiently. He's a good friend to the HIA-LI. Help us welcome up the CEO of Long Island Builders Institute, Mr. Mitch Pally.
Thank you, Terry, and it's always a pleasure to be here. Joe and I were saying, I think this is our 10th time of doing this, and I have found it very interesting over the years as to the change in the panelists who have come on. Because for many years, the esteemed mayor of the village of Patchogue, Paul Pontieri, would be one of our panelists. And that was because everybody wanted to be like Patchogue. Patchogue led the way in redevelopment of its downtown through a variety of ways. And I tell Paul all the time, Patchogue had two things very few other places had. They had leadership and they had their own sewage treatment plant. And the engineers in the room know what that means in that context. But without both of those, and especially Paul's leadership, Patchogue would not be what Patchogue is today, a thriving village of residential, small business, restaurants, and offices in the downtown area. And over the years, other places on Long Island have gotten the signal that that is the way a downtown village area survives, whether in the village or the town. And you can list places now that other people want to be like Farmingdale, like Mineola, like Westbury, like Bayshore, even my friends in Yaphank, Riverhead, Port Jefferson Station, and Huntington Station. All of them have understood that to be a thriving small business community, because that's what you have in the village areas, you need residential development in the downtown areas. It not only provides money that people spend in the villages, it provides homes for people to live in. And that is even more important. You know, as I say all the time, my members don't build with cement and wood. They build with their heart, because people actually live there in the buildings. And that's where they've decided that they're going to start their career, or in cases of us over the age of 55, end our career on Long Island in that regard. And these are the places that have decided to do it. And there are now other places that have decided, you know what, we don't want to be left behind. And those places like Glen Cove, Long Beach, as you'll hear later from our friends with Berman, Hicksville, one of these days. Smithtown has started, and the supervisor was at our event last night with great plans for downtown Smithtown after a certain outcome on November 2nd, which we all hope goes in that regard, right, Mr. Senator, in that context. And Baldwin, which got the last state grant, and Central Islip, which got the state grant before that. These are the places that have decided we do not want to be left behind. And other places on Long Island are beginning to understand that. And the redevelopment of the Innovation Park now to be able to include housing, once we solve a small sewer problem with the county, will work its way out in that regard. So, you know, this is what development and redevelopment is happening on Long Island. We've had the benefit of, over the last 20 months, of being able to work. We were first declared essential with our affordable housing, and then we got the state to change that to allow all construction to go on. So for the last 20 months, construction has started on many projects, a number of which you'll hear today. Some even almost finished, like our friends down in Southampton, who have a, you know, ready to go in the spring with a beautiful project. And other places around the island are planning projects or implementing projects. And that helps, as you know, in Suffolk County. And, one thing about Commissioner Wright, I bother her all the time. I need help on this. We need help with this sewer project. We need help with the health department. And the health department in Suffolk County has been tremendously flexible in now changing many of their rules that they had not changed for 30 or 40 years to allow redevelopment to occur. Not only in the context of residential development, in which we got all of the regulations changed to allow development, but in the relation to sewage treatment plants, where we're now engaged in a major study with the county on the ability to use the unused capacity in every sewage treatment plant in Suffolk County to tie into projects that are next to them. That does two things. It allows a project to be less expensive because you don't have to build your own sewage treatment plant, and it saves the environment because it gets all the old septics out of the ground and ties you into a modern sewage treatment plant. We hope that study will be done in the next year with the county, and then every sewage treatment plant in Suffolk County will be eligible for that type of expansion, which is going to be a tremendous benefit to redevelopment on the island. We're also, hopefully next month, the county legislature will approve the new home subsidy program for IA installations. As you know, it's been voluntary in the past. Now, new home construction requires the installation of new IA systems, but the county had not expanded their subsidy program to allow new homes to be eligible for those subsidies. Now, the county legislature, with the support of the county executive, is going to change that, hopefully next month, and make it retroactive to July 1st, which is when the edict went into effect, so that people who buy new homes at under 110%, which is about $695,000 in Suffolk County, will be eligible for these type of subsidies, which is going to improve the ability to build single-family homes in Suffolk County. Those are the type of things that are happening. In my former position at MTA, as you know, we now have second track in Suffolk County from Hicksville to Ronkonkoma. We will soon have third track. Even if we have to go above Garden City, we're going to get it done in some capacity, or we're going to pass a law exempting MTA from all local requirements, which was actually done, Senator, for the village of Westbury 20 years ago on the Meadowbrook Northern State Interchange. I know, I was there in that regard. So, the state legislature is looking at this, and if Garden City is going to be a problem, we're just going to take them out, because the third track is too important for everybody else on Long Island to be stymied by one small village that doesn't care about anybody else. That's how I feel in that regard. And I've let them know that.
Don't hold back, man.
I don't hold back. One thing I don't hold back. I don't hold back. Anyway, well, first of all, what I want to do is have each of the panelists, and as you know, we have 3 here, but we do have diversity. Kelly is somewhere in technology world somewhere, but let me first have our panelists introduce themselves first, and then they'll speak for a few minutes, and then we'd love to have a little conversation with everybody on what's going on. So, Joe, why don't you start first, just introduce yourselves, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Joe Campolo. I'm the managing partner of Campolo, Middleton, and McCormick. I'm an HIA-LI board member, and I'm chair of the Long Island Innovation Park at Hauppauge Task Force, which I will be talking about today with you folks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Berman. I'm a principal at Anglo Berman. We're a vertically integrated real estate company. We do development, construction, and we manage our portfolio. And I'll give you a little more overview of Anglo Berman when I speak in a few minutes. And it's a pleasure to be here today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael Brode. I'm the first and only employee of Reckler Equity Partners, dedicated only to hospitality. So I lead with hospitality. You're all actually in the hospitality business, but that is what I lead with, and I'll speak to you a little bit about our most recent project, and a very fun project out in Southampton.
Can Kelly hear us? Oh, there she is right there. Kelly.
Hi, can you
Friend
hear
Kelly.
me? Thanks, Mitch. Hi, my name is Kelly Heck. I'm with TriTech Real Estate Company on the development team. TriTech is a real estate project delivery organization founded in 1986 with three arms: the development group, asset management team, and building company. And I'm here today to share a brief overview of some of TriTech's projects in the Long Island multifamily space.
Okay, so to get started, we're going to start with our friend Joe Campolo from Campolo Middleton. Joe.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks, Mitch. Good morning, everyone. So I'm speaking to you today with my HIA-LI board hat on. I'm a lawyer, so as a lawyer, we don't really do anything, I mean, we facilitate.
We know that.
Right.
You and I both know that.
We facilitate and we advocate. And, with HIA-LI, there can be no greater organization really in the country that helps facilitate business and advocate for business. And so I'm super proud of my involvement with the organization. I'm also a Marine, and as a Marine, we roll up our sleeves and we get things done. That's what we're always taught. And HIA-LI certainly rolls up its sleeves and get things done. When COVID shut the world down, Terry and I had an oh shit moment, right? What do we do? What do we do now? And we really decided at that moment, and the entire board, with the entire board's support, that we were just going to push forward as hard as we could to continue advocating for businesses here on Long Island, because that was their time and need. And I have to tell you that there is nobody I've ever met in my entire life that I love to share a foxhole more than Terry Maselli. She is a warrior. She is a trooper, and she's somebody who cares deeply about every single business here on Long Island. One of the things that we talked about doing, so everybody's sick, nobody more than me, everybody's sick and tired of hearing me talk about the economic impact study we did with the park and the numbers that came out of the park. Although I will tell you, a lot of great stuff had come out of that. In fact, my good friend Mario loves to reference that it's the second largest industrial park in the country, second only to Silicon Valley. And I love when I hear people say that, because that came right out of our study. But we decided to expand it. So as you know, our good friends at Suffolk IDA funded an opportunity analysis to see, okay, step one was we looked at what's going on in the park today. And step two that was funded is what could occur in the park going forward, right? And that was really important study for us to have. And so we got it. And it was so interesting to look at it. Now I'm the first guy who has to figure out the PowerPoint here. Do we have the PowerPoint up? Yeah, there we go. So what we did when COVID hit was we decided, you know what, we're going to start a task force. And the task force is going to be dedicated to taking that opportunity analysis and using it as a blueprint, a roadmap, if you will. And again, in the vein of getting things done, we were just going to start checking things off in there that said could be done. So we formed a task force, and I have to tell you, this task force, they are the real deal. These are the folks on Long Island, all of whom are in the room today, who help roll up their sleeves and get things done. And we realized we need public-private partnership in this task force. We need, the people on the governmental side who are help facilitating business, and the businesses here on the other side who know what need to get done to get these projects moving. You're going to hear from our good friends up here about all the success they've had, okay? But what goes on behind the scenes and the frustration, which is why Mitch has become a bitter old man now with Garden City, is all the work that goes into getting these things done, right? And it's very challenging. But when you have the right people and the right team sitting together at the table in a spirit of cooperation and trying to get things done, it's actually amazing what can be accomplished. And that task force is myself as the chair, Terry, Commissioner Natalie Wright, I know she's here, Kelly from the Suffolk IDA, Rich Human, Bob Isaacson, Kevin O'Connor, Carol Allen, and then we have our great, fierce town supervisors, Angie Carpenter, who is here. Angie, good to see you. Supervisor Ed Wareheim, who is not here, but he's always here in spirit. I call him Flash affectionately. And Councilman Tom Lohman, who's the liaison to the park. And we meet once a quarter to discuss the projects that are going on, to discuss hiccups that are occurring, and to find solutions. So let's talk a little bit about the work. If we can pull that PowerPoint up, please. Right. Let's talk a little bit about that work. So, you know, I mentioned all this. We'll go to the next thing. One of the first things we talked about, and Mitch, you'll probably get a kick out of this book because Mitch was my professor at Stony Brook University. And one of the books I read when I was in Stony Brook was a book called Edge City. And Edge City came out in the early 1990s, and Joel Garreau was an author who talked about the new frontier. He talked about how cities like New York City, Los Angeles, all these cities were going to create and develop edge cities. Okay? And edge cities are going to be all those folks that come out here. So like my parents, we moved out from Brooklyn. We bought a prefab house in a neighborhood, and then what? Right? Now we're seeing edge cities come to life because of the folks here on this panel. And we talked about in that book, Hauppauge was identified as a potential edge city, and now the Innovation Park exists, which is really kind of cool. And anybody interested in these revitalized downtown developments, I encourage to read this book, Edge City. But we talked about it. One of the first things we did as a task force was talk about this book, because it's really important to understand that what we're doing here is bringing to life what was a concept back in the early 90s of what could have been. And these folks here are making it happen. Okay? They identified in that book 4 edge city potentials. Great Neck Lake Success Area, Mitchell Field and Garden City, as we know Mitch is very passionate about. Route 110 in Melville, which we're sitting in right now in Hauppauge. Okay? And so really what we're doing now is fulfilling a vision that everybody had 30 years ago, what could be done. And that's really super cool and super important. And it's because of all of you folks bringing this to life, right? And supporting mixed housing has been an incredible thing. We're going to talk a lot about that. The next thing we really focused on, because the town of Smithtown, and Mitch alluded to it, one of the things we were able to accomplish is the town of Smithtown identified numerous parcels inside the Innovation Park that would be suitable to have mixed use being residential, retail, other things other than just industrial zoning, okay? And there were challenges. There were challenges that came up, and we said, you know what, let's create our own case study. As a task force, let's really create our own study. And so we took a deep dive, and I want to thank my team members, Lauren and Alona here, who are my partners in crime and all this research and writing that we do. We took a deep dive and we created, our Innovation Park white paper, Securing Long Island's Future. And this really details and highlights and shows everybody the challenges that a development project here on Long Island faces and how to try and overcome and find solutions to those. And that's a tremendous resource that we were able to put forth as part of that. The white paper, highlighted the Innovation Park as being the anchor of Long Island's tradable economies. Now, we've talked about tradable economies to death, but it's super important in terms of dollars. It addressed the topics of workforce housing. It addresses the need for workforce housing to stop young people from leaving Long Island. So my daughter, who just graduated college, finding housing for her was challenging, right? It's challenging. Question is, you're going to pay your mortgage or somebody else's mortgage, and how do you figure it out? And how do you do the math? And what makes sense? So we really analyzed this in a white paper that is incredibly important, right? And then we talked about the zoning change that took place in the town of Smithtown. And we talked about, the housing developments alone in the town of Smithtown and the economic development that could happen inside the Innovation Park with this mixed use that could create $426 million in construction spending, $426 million just by elected officials having the courage, okay, to stand up to constituents and say, we need to do this. We need to do this. This is what the future looks like. We are an edge city. This is what it needs to look like in order for people to stay here. And then post-construction, we identified over $25 million in annual spending within the county from the new residents that would live there. Okay, so this white paper was really a cornerstone for what we were going to do going forward when we analyze projects. And then we realized, as part of the opportunity analysis, that there's more than just the innovation park. There's an ecosystem that feeds into and feeds from the innovation park. And one of the major things that was identified as an underutilized economic asset here, but necessary to creating and recreating and thriving Long Island, was Long Island MacArthur Airport, and that really became something that we started to focus on next. And so what we realized is, and Angie, is Angie still here? Angie, she was here. I wanted to give her more props, but so Angie invited me to be on the advisory board for the airport, and I sat in on a meeting, and Mitch chairs that advisory. And it, like Mitch, I've learned more about airlines and airports than I ever thought I was going to, I was ever going to learn. But what we realized is business travel in and out of Islip MacArthur Airport was significantly way down, obviously, right? And in order to keep the economy here on Long Island, we needed to be able to revitalize business travel. But what business folks constantly say about Islip MacArthur Airport is there's not enough destinations. There's not enough, nonstop flights that come out of the airport. And when we looked and we said, okay, what do we need to do to try and advocate for that? How can this task force really try and help that? And so we met with Shelley, the commissioner, and Rob, the deputy commissioner, Terry and I, and Angie. We met and we sat down and we said, how can we really try and help this? What is it that airlines are going to need to come in there? Because there are multiple airlines right now looking at making Islip MacArthur Airport their home. Now, we all know the runways. We all know the challenges with the runways. And the Islip MacArthur Airport, the runways are too short in the past to house bi-coastal flights. So you couldn't get to California with either a full load of passengers or a full load of fuel to make it there. And you couldn't get to Europe for the same reasons. You either couldn't have a full amount of fuel or full amount of passengers. So from an economic perspective, it didn't make any sense for the airports. But there's innovation going on all the time. And one of the new airlines called Breeze has developed new airplanes that can make it out of Islip at those shorter runways, okay, to California and Europe, full load, full fuel, right? And so we started talking about how are we going to attract that? Now, Breeze Airways was started by David Nealman. David Nealman started JetBlue Airlines, okay? So now all of a sudden, we have interest and we have airplanes that can support it. And there are other carriers now looking at Islip MacArthur Airport, which is so critical to the economy here. So we decided that putting together a survey was going to be really important because the results of that survey, the commissioner will be able to use to talk to airlines about attracting business here. And once again, just like we found out when we did the economic impact study in the park and the amount of business that came out of there, the survey that we were able to do and get responses from in the business community, the numbers were absolutely staggering. So we got over 500 businesses. Thank you to many people in this room that were able to help support this. We got over 500 businesses, representative of everywhere from small to large businesses, and asked them a series of very simple questions. Question one was, what is your total travel budget per annum? And you can see the responses there. Less than 5,000 was 120 plus, More than 20,000 was just about the same. And then the rest was somewhere in the middle with some with no travel budget. But when you added up the numbers in terms of the responses, for those 500 businesses, the amount of dollars they were spending in annual travel from a business perspective was $5.2 million. Okay, so we looked at that. Then we looked at the fact, the next question we asked is, how much of it is being spent at Islip MacArthur Airport? So of that $5.2 million, only $1.9 million was being spent at Islip MacArthur Airport, which is less than the lion's share. Okay, less than the lion's share. It's only 36% of Long Island businesses' travel budget being spent at the Long Island MacArthur Airport. Okay, and so then we looked at and we said, if more nonstop destinations were offered out of MacArthur to the destinations that businesses typically follow, how much would you then utilize Islip MacArthur Airport? And the report, not surprisingly, the numbers shot way up. The 78.8% of their travel budget would be spent at Islip MacArthur Airport. 4.1 million of that $5.2 million, rather than just $1.9 million. Okay, so that's tremendous. And then we sort of scaled it out even more, just to look at it. If that's a representative sample of businesses here on Long Island, if we took just 1,000 members, if we doubled it and took just 1,000 members that we have here at HIA-LI, okay, and scaled it out to there, it would be $8.7 million if more nonstop destinations were added, up from $1.9 million. And then if you scaled it out even further to the businesses all that are here in Suffolk County, that would be a potential market of $532 million being spent out of Islip MacArthur Airport. And then if you added in Nassau County, because let's face it, Islip MacArthur Airport, the experience is so much easier, okay, than LaGuardia or JFK. That's the whole point of regional airports. You add another $530 million for a potential market of travel budget now that we can play for from Islip MacArthur Airport of $1.1 billion, right? And that's staggering. And that's just outbound flights. The next thing we have to look at is how does that now impact travel and tourism on inbound flights from those destinations to come into Long Island? And the amount of money that's going to be spent here on Long Island just by adding those new destinations for folks to come in here. So as a radio station called me up and says, why is a lawyer concerned about an airport? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. It's a question that I got, right? Why are you concerned about it? And I said, I'm not. I'm concerned about Long Island and the economy and the development and keeping people here and making it as robust as possible. And here we have this gem of an innovation park, and we have this gem of a regional airport right here in the heart of Long Island. And if it's up to us to cultivate that, it's up to us to advocate for that. The business community stood up twice now that we've asked them. Once to back the innovation park and the legislation that was needed, and to give Suffolk County elected officials the cover they needed to make sure that legislation could get passed. And now to get this survey in front of major airlines and help attract them to revitalize Islip MacArthur Airport. And I got to tell you, folks, I couldn't be more proud of working with this team. And everybody wants to talk about how government is broken, and it isn't. It isn't here on Long Island. These guys are the real deal. And it isn't, the business community isn't shying away from it. We're here, we're rolling up our sleeves and really getting things done, really important things done, not just for us, but for future generations. So our kids can be here and our grandkids can be here and be on Long Island, love it the way that we do, And I do want to take my hat off to current board chair, Rich Heumann. Rich has taken HIA-LI in a great direction as we continue to move forward. And I think it's really going to be an exciting year now that we're all back to being out and about. And I want to thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for your help on the advisory committee. And that survey, by the way, was also sent to a number of companies outside the park. We sent it to all of our members. LIA sent it to all of their members. to try to get a comprehensive look at the travel needs of the Long Island business community, because we're all in this together, regardless of where your business happens to be located. Next, we're going to talk about individual development projects. And I have the great fortune of introducing Kelly Heck from TriTech. Last week, I think it was last week, I had the honor and privilege of speaking at the opening of their project in Lindenhurst, which is an absolutely gorgeous rental project right in the middle of downtown. And the mayor said, and as part of his remarks, the tremendous positive impact on the village of Lindenhurst cannot be calibrated. What they've done for the downtown area, the number of people who frequent their restaurants, their businesses, and what it's meant for the psyche of the community is tremendously positive. So with that, from technology, we have Kelly Heck. Kelly.
Thank you. Thanks, Mitch, and thank you to the HIA for hosting this panel, and I'm honored to be a part of it. And I apologize for calling in remotely and not being in person today. But I do want to just share my screen. Give me one moment. Okay. All good. So today I'm going to share a little bit of an overview of some of TriTech's projects within our Long Island multifamily space. And before we jump into that, I just want to take a moment just to discuss why multifamily on Long Island. Historically, TriTech was focused its primary efforts on commercial, medical, industrial assets. But what fills up these spaces are people. And so in the early 2000s, we began anecdotally noticing that we were losing our young, talented workforce on Long Island, as we've discussed earlier today, the quote unquote brain drain. And when you ask why, time and time again, one of the leading causes is a lack of housing options. So TriTech began shifting its focus into that multifamily space to address those needs. I know I'm preaching to the choir here today, but Long Island is undersupplied in its rental housing as a percent of the overall housing stock, which has severe cost of living implications throughout our region. If you take a look at the national average of rental housing as a percent of our housing stock, inclusive of our peers or competitors, New Jersey, Southwest Connecticut, Westchester, they're looking at 35 to 40% of their housing stock are rentals. Long Island, we're seeing about 20%. And so that discrepancy, that variance, equates to somewhere about 100 to 150,000 rental units missing from our region. And, Mitch could speak better to it than me, but probably, we're maybe delivering as a region 800 to 2,000 units a year. So if we start diving into, multifamily housing itself, the multifamily housing that we do have, the rental units we have existing on the island, about 75% of those were built before 1980. And demographics have changed drastically over those, over the past 40 to 50 years. In 1970, I believe about half of our, population on Long Island consisted of two parents with children. Today, that's cut in half. And then on the flip side, single person households, single parent households have more than doubled. So our demographics have changed drastically, but the housing offerings that we have on Long Island have not kept pace. And so that leads to why, TriTech has really largely shifted its focus into this multifamily housing arena, rental housing arena, specifically to create, these quote unquote talent magnets to help address the needs that we're seeing to help attract and retain our talented young workforce to fill our collective businesses here. And we as a business community need to continue to enhance and our partnership and our engagement with each other to really address these issues. But with that, I'll jump right into the few projects. Just bear with me. So the first project up on the docket, we have Patchogue, New Village at Patchogue. So Mayor Pontieri invited us to take a look at Patchogue back in 2006. At the time, downtown Patchogue, they were seeing about 50% vacancy on Main Street. And those storefronts that were there, a large majority are typically not storefronts you see on a downtown Main Street itself. Over the course between 2006 and when we opened New Village in 2014, we went through a long entitlement and rezoning process and design process with the community. And there was a global financial crisis in the middle of that. But in 2014, we opened the doors to New Village. It's a $112 million investment in Patchogue. It consists of 291 apartment units, 46,000 square feet of retail, and 18,000 square feet of office space. Today, I believe Patchogue is somewhere in the arena of about $900 million of investment in this 2.2 square mile village, inclusive of TriTech's investment. It's been an incredible revitalization story in downtown Patchogue. There's over 50 new businesses, about 42 of them being restaurants. So if you have not been to Patchogue lately, I encourage you to go take a look. The well is located in Lindenhurst. It's the project Mitch was just speaking about. The well is located on a 7-acre parcel in downtown Lindenhurst, directly across from the Lindenhurst train station, and about 2 blocks east of Wellwood Avenue, which is Lindenhurst's main street. We started working with the village of Lindenhurst in 2014. They were very eager to move forward with revitalization efforts to help spur Wellwood Avenue. So over the course of the 2014s, when we commenced construction in 2019, again, we went through a rezone and design process with the community, with the village. And we opened our doors this past summer to residents. So our lease up has been well ahead of pace. We're 70% leased, and we opened our doors on June 30th. This is an image of the well today. And I think, as Mitch alluded to earlier, it's the story, the greater story of the village of Lindenhurst that's been pretty incredible. There's been 18 new businesses that have come into downtown Lindenhurst since we announced moving forward with the well, 8 of which have come in since the pandemic. The next project is up on the screen is 1700 Union Boulevard in downtown Bayshore. This is the 10-acre parcel of land formerly owned by Toro College. It's located 1 block south of Bayshore's Long Island Railroad Station and about 1 block north of downtown Main Street in Bayshore, Montauk Highway. We went into contract on this lot in 2018 and just closed on our financing and on the acquisition of this parcel this past August. So we have, over the past couple months, commenced construction activities on the site. This will be fully complete in the summer of 2024 with 418 units and about 1,650 square feet of retail. And this is Station Square. Sorry, so this is Station Square up on the screen. My screen is a little delayed. Station Square, also known as Ronkonkoma Hub. So we began working in Ronkonkoma in 2012. So Ronkonkoma, just taking a step back, has been looking to revitalize this area. It's a 53-acre area on the north side of the Ronkonkoma train station since back, I think it dates back to the 80s. An RFP went out in 2011 and TriTech was unanimously selected as master developer in 2012 from a pool of 14 applicants. The selection committee included representatives from the town of Islip, town of Brookhaven, and the Ronkonkoma Civics. In 2012, we started undergoing fairly extensive rezoning, entitlement, design, infrastructure efforts, and we commenced construction on phase one back in 2016. So this is an image of the conceptual master plan that what the full build out would look like. The full build out would include 1,450 homes, 360,000 square feet of commercial space, and 195,000 square feet of retail and 60,000 square feet of hospitality space. Phase one, as you can see up on the screen, is located on the eastern portion, about 12 acres on the eastern portion of the site. So this is images of phase one prior to construction. This is the Alston today. This is the 489 units in phase one, which we completed in mid-2020. This was a $165 million project, and the leasing here has been phenomenal. I believe we're right now about 91% leased at this project. And these are some images of the interior and amenity community spaces. And phase two, we actually commenced construction in the spring of 21. So we are well underway now on phase two of Ronkonkoma Hub Station Square. Phase two will be our core downtown CBD area within the hub. Phase 2A is located between, if anyone's familiar with Ronkonkoma, the Hawkins Avenue. It's nestled between Hawkins Avenue and the existing MTA garage. This will include 388 apartment units, 73,000 square feet of retail, and about 15,000 square feet of office space. And these are some images. Surrounds a village green, as you can see up on the screen, and there will be 2 parking garages. We've been working in concert with support from ESD. And these are just some additional images. Thank you, Mitch. I ran through some of those projects, but I'm happy to answer any questions at the end.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Scott Berman, the principal of Engel Berman. I guess about a month ago, we had the honor of being at the groundbreaking for a tremendous project in the city of Long Beach, something that's been dreamed about for over 3 decades. And finally now, Engel Berman is going to bring Superblock to fruition. So with that, Scott Berman.
Thank you, Mitch. So a real pleasure to be here today. Really pleased to be in front of people and do one of these presentations in person. It's been a long time coming, and I'm really happy to see that organizations like HIA are finally getting back to business for real. Again, I'm Scott Berman, principal at Engel Berman. I'm here today to talk a bit about our Long Beach project, but I see some familiar faces in the room, like my friends at H2M, but there's a lot of people here who may not be that familiar with us, so I'll give you a little overview of who we are and what we do. So proud to say that we're celebrating our 25th year in business as Engel Berman. We're a Long Island company, so a local company headquartered in Jericho, and we do work across New York and New Jersey. We were a vertically integrated real estate company, as I mentioned in my brief opening. So we have a development company which handles acquisitions, municipal entitlements, financings, really everything kind of leading up to construction. We then have a separate construction division, which builds our projects. That team's about 100 people. We do about $300 million a year of work in place, and between what is being built and in our pipeline, it's usually close to about $1 billion worth of construction. We're used to running 6 to 10 projects at any given time. So a vibrant construction division. And then we also do management of our various assets. And I'll talk a little more about those. And that team's about 3,000 people. So it's sizable management company, and we have, again, assets across New York and New Jersey. We also do all of our own sales and marketing, and again, totally vertically integrated, so we run our whole process cradle to grave. In this slide, you can see some of our different brands. We work in a bunch of different market sectors. So we have a bunch of commercial properties, office, industrial, and retail. We work with a lot of A-credit tenants like Lifetime Fitness, Stop and Shop, Lowe's Home Improvement, just to name a few. So we have a sizable commercial portfolio. We're very focused in the residential sector. So we built north of 5,000 homes, combination of for rent and for sale products. A lot of the boxes you can see on this slide are our different brands. The Seasons is our 55+ lifestyle community. We also have Encore Luxury Living, which is an independent living brand. Sutton Landing is our senior rental brand. So lots of different shapes and sizes. We recently opened a project called The Bricks, which is geared towards young people. So a housing product geared towards college age, starting families. So we're trying to come up with diversified products to bring to market that really benefit the Long Island community. And then we also have a big presence in the senior living space. So our brand is the Bristol Assisted Living. We've got 27 properties across New York and New Jersey. Our markets are Long Island, Westchester, North Jersey, and Manhattan. And we're expanding currently into Southeast Florida. And then finally, we opened a really exciting project about a year and a half ago called Wellbridge, which is a drug addiction research and rehabilitation center on a 90-acre campus on the east end of Long Island in Calverton. Been open about 2 years. It was a project that was 9 years in the making. So it's extremely exciting for us, and we're doing great work out there helping people with addiction issues. So the reason I'm here today is to talk about our Long Beach project. And you can see here what it looks like today. It's a 6-acre vacant parcel right along the boardwalk in Long Beach. Long Beach is an amazing city, as I'm sure everybody knows, incorporated in 1922 and coined City by the Sea. Lots of famous people with their childhood home like Billy Crystal and Derek Jeter. And this property, as Mitch said, has been sitting around for 40+ years. It was formerly a bowling alley and had a retail restaurant, which burnt down. And there were a bunch of failed attempts to develop it over the years. Most recently, a company named iStar, which is a fund out of Manhattan, acquired the property through a foreclosure. They attempted to develop it, came into the city with a very, very aggressive plan, which required a lot of variances, height variances, density variances, a lot also of tax incentives were required to make their project work. So they went to the IDA with a request for a pilot program on the entire parcel. Their project was all rental. Ultimately, it was rejected by the community, and they ended up in a big lawsuit with the city. We went to contract to purchase the property from iStar, and we took a very different approach. We really came in looking to build what was as of right. We weren't asking for any big variances. We're a local developer. We embraced the community. We came to dozens of civic meetings with 6 or 7 different civic associations, took a lot of feedback from the community, did a lot of communicating with the community, and really built a trust and support with the community, which is super, super important through the real estate development process, and particularly when you're doing a project of this size and scope. About 2 years it took to get through the process. We were asking for IDA benefits on half the project because our project is only half rental. And I know the Suffolk IDA is here, and I just would like to plug the work that they do, because without the IDA incentives, projects like this would never get built. It's super important. And I'd like to commend the Nassau IDA, because without their support, we never would have gotten this project off the ground. So we broke ground about 3 weeks ago. As Mitch said, we had a beautiful groundbreaking ceremony, and we are very excited to be off to the races to build this project. So this next slide, you're going to see what will be in about 3 years. It's going to be about the next 90 days of earthworks. So we're going to be doing 2,200 piles on the site and pouring foundations, a lot of earth excavating work. And then we'll deliver the first building in about 30 months, which will be a rental tower, which you can see screen right, and then 2 condo towers screen left. So what we're doing here is 2 levels of podium parking, ground level along the boardwalk, about 1,100 parking spaces. There'll be a retail component that's accessible from the boardwalk. So we've got a couple of restaurants, a grab and go, a couple of food kiosks. Above that is a big amenity package, which you'll see in more detail on the next slide. And then again, 238 unit rental building, 10 stories, and 2 100 unit condo towers. And then here you can see the great amenity package, which includes multiple swimming pools, tennis court, pickleball, doing an outdoor movie theater, lots of great amenities. And what we're really trying to create here is a destination. You know, we think we'll attract people from all over Long Island, Manhattan, maybe Westchester. And with such a large scale development, we really think that this will be very unique for Long Island and hopefully stem more future development of size and scope. So excited to be here again and look forward to the discussion.
And now we'll go from the west end of Long Island to the east end of Long Island with our friend from Recla Equity Partners, Michael Broad, who's the managing director of the renovation. And if you have not seen it lately, it is unbelievable. I was by it the other day, and it is an unbelievable site at what will be the new Canoe Place Inn. Michael Broad.
Thank you, Mitch. I'll speak quickly. I want to leave a little bit of time for question and answer. Are we a hard stop at 10?
Well, no, we're
Okay.
about 10.
All right, so I'll go quickly.
We're flexible.
Okay. First, I would like to wake you up a little bit. How about a little bit of audience participation? Anyone that has not celebrated their 20th or 30th birthday at least a decade ago, you can ignore this question. So, Senator, you won't be judged. Mitch, Terry, you know the rules. Who has any memories, or does CPI or OBI East ring a bell? Come on, ring, come on, let me hear it. Okay, thank you very much. And if you have any memories of it, you probably weren't having a very good time, I guess. Senator, come on. No, I would like to see some of those moves you had at OBI East, is what I'd like. Okay, I think I might have seen you there. I'm not sure. Anyway, those memories are going to have to stay as memories because this revitalization is going to take you on a different journey. May I have the slideshow, please? Can you put that up? Oh, I have to do it? Yes, yeah. No, I think they have to start it.
They pull it up, yeah.
There we go. Let me go back here. Okay, so as Joe said and Mitch, we have tremendous gems on Long Island, and this is the revitalization of one of those little gems, an icon. So for you that I'm controlling this, right, guys? Guys, I don't want it to go. Give it back to me. Give me back control. You know the rules. I need control. So now what? It's in your hands. Anyway, as they're figuring this out, for those of you who weren't there and don't know where this is located, it's on a little strip of land, this narrowest piece of the South Fork on the. Here we are. We're on the west side of the Shinnecock Canal. Now, the Shinnecock, this piece of land was called Nyamuck by the Native Americans because it was a place between two places. Then the little narrow piece was renamed Canoe Place in a land deed in 1640 by the English settlers. And Canoe Place actually described the place that the Native Americans portaged their canoes. So I'm going to give you a little history lesson. It's included in your breakfast here. 1640, as I said, it was named Canoe Place. And then in 1659, 1652, more land was purchased for the quag and the topping purchase, and that went from Riverhead and then south to Eastport. Then the interesting thing, in 1738, that whole corridor was named Good Ground, and that name Good Ground stood for almost 200 years until 1922, when, Senator, there were some politicians that you're not, I know you're an elected official, they decided that they'd like to take some of that allure, the social allure of the Hamptons, and they changed the name to Hampton Bays. Now, think about this. Julius Keller reopened, and I'll talk about Julius Keller a little bit later, but he reopened the Canoe Place Inn in 1922. And he had a lot of friends in the political sector. So this is a comeback story, decades in the making. It was purchased in 2004 by Greg and Mitchell Reckler with the intention of redevelopment. At that time, they met a wall of passionate voices from the community, and they didn't want to let go of that nostalgic Canoe Place Inn. Even though there was nothing historically significant, there were no historically significant components of the inn, the pure community nostalgia was overwhelming. So the revitalization of this icon or this gem, rather than being combative, the Recklers began to listen to the voices of the hamlet, similar to what Scott was saying, how you have to have community involvement. It's extremely important. The vision of revitalization has taken them on, and all of us, on a journey through centuries of history. It was during this time that the Recklers also purchased, as they were studying the history, speaking to the community, listening, they bought 5 acres on the east side of the canal, on the east coast of the canal. Keep this in mind for later. So the first essence of this inn was in 1697, actually. It was a land grant to a man named Gershom Culver to water horses and to feed travelers. As time went on, it became a rest stop. This rest stop became a stagecoach stop. And then in 1704, Queen Anne granted a royal charter as a coaching inn. Now, the British were here, of course, and they needed a fort to oversee both bays. So they built a fort on the high ground just behind the inn, and the inn was used to house the British officers. We know how that turned out. The British fate became apparent in 1776. They were on the wrong side of that battle, and they demolished the fort, but the Canoe Place Inn stayed as an inn to service the community. Here, and I think it was in 1800s, Sullivan was training for actually the first heavyweight fight there. Then, as I said, it was an interesting place. It was destroyed by fire, but over the centuries, it had its ups and downs. And in this article, it was published around 1880, and it says, "We are sorry also to learn that many young men are on the road to ruin through association with that vile den." Well, was that a forecast to OBI East or CPI? We don't know. It was destroyed by fire, and there's Keller on the, I don't know if it's on the gentleman with being comforted by a community representative. And he said it was destroyed in 1920, shortly after he bought it. And he said, I'm going to build this back before the embers are cold, because we need it. The community needs a gathering place. So he reopened it in 1922, and you can see through these slides, it was quite a place. Because he owned Maxime's and he owned Copacabana at the same time in New York, he had friends from Hollywood, from Broadway, athletes, and, as I said, politicians. It didn't hurt also that the owners of the 21 Club, that I'm sure you're all familiar with in New York, had 16 acres and an incredible estate just beyond where the fort used to be, where the British fort used to be. And all during Prohibition, they had quite a party house. They used to bring the liquor in from the canal into their home, down into the inn, and then into their place in the city. So we had a lot of inspiration, but we also had obstacles. As people alluded to today, the passion came from the community. It did not come from the developers. This is not a passion project. This is not an ego project. And the communities, the revitalization efforts were bigger than the development plans. And the passion of this project from various community organizations and individuals that had a lot of connection to this project. But take a look at the physical structure that had to be, this might bring back some memories, that had to bring, here's one for you guys that were there. And here we are. So connecting to the special site and to the community. So there were bumper stickers, there were flyers, there were meetings on meetings. And as time went on, we got from pushback to partnership. So in association with Saving the Inn, because that's what the community wanted, and the Recklers listened and had roundtables with community members, asking them, what is it that you really want? And they wanted their inn. So remember, they had already purchased 5 acres on the east side of the canal. So the town of Southampton permitted the Recklers to develop 37 boathouses on the east bank of the canal if they would save the inn. So to a certain extent, this vision of restoring this inn, and this is a picture I think probably from the 40s, Keller ran the inn from 22 to 46 when he passed away, and that was its real heyday. And the idea here is that the vision parallels a little bit like Brooklyn. We see Hampton Bays as the gateway to the Hamptons. So how did we figure out what we're going to do? How is the hospitality, what is the hospitality positioning of this? So we wanted to find our footing by leaning into our history. And leaning into our history, I'd like to just read you quickly this is our brand statement, and it goes like, for hundreds of years, Canoe Place has been a destination defined by gatherings and conversions. Home to the Canoe Place Inn, lush grounds, canal landings, and a beloved ballroom and event pavilion, the Long Island icon has been a welcoming and dynamic intersection for centuries. Here in the town of Southampton, in the waterfront hamlet of Hampton Bays, 2 picturesque bays meet where friends and families and cultures have come together since 1697. The site of the nation's oldest inn, this special place has been everything from a waterside retreat to a discreet celebrity rendezvous to a racy late night scene. So these are some examples of how we are reaching back into our history and celebrating the history. The tavern is going to be called Good Ground. You see some of our logo is both contemporary and very nostalgic. So what are we planning? We're planning to have 20 guest suites, 5 cottages, a a full-service spa, indoor and à la carte dining for 90, outdoor dining for 120. Here you'll see the overall campus, and we are considering it a campus. There are 5 cottages, and if you look up to cottage, I guess, number 5 all the way up at the top, or number 1, I guess that is, that foundation is higher than the 3rd floor of the inn. So the topography really is unusual in this 6 acres. You can see beautiful views of the Shinnecock Bay from the cabin, swimming pool, event lawns, etc. We'll have a pre-event and event space for 300. I'll show you a little bit about what these mood boards are starting to look like. Art is going to be a very important component because the Recklers do have a world-class art collection. They've purchased a Douglas Aiken tapestry, which you see here, that he did during COVID for the lobby. And there'll be a Tony Tassett 12-foot deer that is going to call the garden its home. So what we put together, this is just some ideas of what the interiors. This is the spa resting. This is the Little Kitchen, one of the indoor restaurants, the Good Ground Tavern. This is the outdoor dining with a retractable roof. So we hope to be able to serve for at least 10 months a year outdoors. And then these are the event spaces. And the overall idea is we are a garden by the sea. So we're trying to replicate a little bit of a meadow in the event and pre-event spaces. The real estate development was the plan, of course, but genuine revitalization and preservation was the outcome. What are the lessons that we learned in order to revitalize what we think is going to be, again, another gem in the crown of Long Island? We learned that pride is going to be a problem unless you make it a solution. History, it can be interpreted, but it cannot be ignored. Restoration is easiest when the goal is relevance, and partnership and community engagement is optional, isn't optional, and it is invaluable. Thank you.
Got it? Okay. Thank you, Michael. And there's no truth to the rumor that the revitalization process with the town of Southampton actually started in 1697, right? That's okay. Just want to make sure how many years you've been at this.
We've been out there a long time.
In this context. We have a few minutes for questions. I think you've heard great opportunities here, great, what all of these things are in reality is private investment in Long Island. That's what it is. It's private dollars. And you don't make hundreds of millions of dollars of investments, not just in these projects, but in many other projects that even the TriTech projects and others that are all around Long Island, unless you're bullish on Long Island. And that is something all need to understand. We've been through a long pandemic, but my organization, the members of my organization, the members of HIA, we're all bullish on Long Island because we're investing millions of dollars in private money here. And that shows what Long Island not only is today, but what it's going to be, which is obviously even going to be better than it is today. And government doesn't make that happen. Government helps that happen, either through the IDA or through state grants or these type of things. But without private investment, government help is irrelevant in that context. And that's why all the people who are on this panel and the hundreds of other developers and business people throughout Long Island who are making these investments are so important to continue. Does anybody? Yes, Lisa, go ahead. Right.
Which I think is a lost opportunity. We talk about needing our workforce in the industrial park. This would be a great chance. So I'm curious about the TriTech and the Berman, whether you've had to put restrictions on those other developments that you talked about, and just your thoughts about pivoting away
We go through that all the time. Scott, you wanted to start
yeah,
with that?
We've done a couple of those developments. We did one recently in Deer Park. We did one in Seaford a couple of years ago, where they were school buildings which weren't being used, and the schools decided to sell them. And they went through a referendum process, and we built beautiful housing communities. I agree with you. I think there's a need for a more diverse housing stock across Long Island, but generally the communities have resisted more school-age kids, and because of that, it's become a cycle, right? So you have these empty school buildings, and they're being sold to senior developers, and ultimately less school children in the schools. Long Beach was not an age-restricted project. We were primarily an age-restricted residential developer for many years. Thankfully, we're seeing a paradigm shift here, and more we're able to do more diverse housing, which is great.
And remember the Hauppauge School District, which has the 4th lowest real property tax rate of any school district outside the East End, because of all the people in the park who pay $44 million to the school district, sued the town of Smithtown and gratefully lost on an Article 78. But it shows, I've had, I'm a former board member in Three Village, and I can tell you, it's hard enough being a school board member. Don't make me a planning board member. That's for others to do. The state legislature should look at. I feel strongly that school districts do not have the ability to sue other levels of government, but unfortunately, that's my own position at the moment. I'm trying to convince the Attorney General of the state of New York to take the same position. I've had many conversations with her office about it, because all it does is stymie residential development for young people on Long Island, and heaven forbid we actually have school children in school districts that are losing enrollment. It's an amazing context. I'm losing enrollment, but I don't want any more school kids. It's
We've had a running joke in our office that the school boards are the new town boards.
Right, and that's the unfortunate part of it. And and that's why I've had this conversation with the AG's office about not allowing them to sue, and hopefully one of these days that will come to fruition. Anyone else? Before Terry yells at me. Yes, sir. Hello. Steve, hello, sir.
One thing we talk about all the time is keep our youth here and everything else. Is really looking at, I know Berman's doing it already, building more 1 and 2 bedroom condos. Because when a lot of us might have kids that are teenagers or in their 20s or 30s, instead of moving in, when you move out of a basement, they have the smallest choice they have is a 2,000 square foot home. Maybe they want a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. I know that's how I got my first home, was buying a co-op in Rockville Center and rolled into my home. And that building equity. And so again, even up the 2 bedrooms renting to 3,000 to 4,000 in these buildings, we carrying $400,000 more or more. And it could be again a nice 1 or 2 bedroom condo. Just don't have the time. That's why people kids are leaving, is they can't get started.
It's a huge issue. We were traditionally a bedroom community. Most of the housing stock on Long Island still is $500,000 plus homes, and it creates an issue for young people who want to live here. We also, as I think Kelly mentioned earlier, don't have enough rental housing. So there's just not enough diversity in the housing stock. And again, thankfully, we're starting to see some things change. We're able to point to some quality projects around, and people are starting to realize that we have to change in order to survive. So I think you'll see more of that in the coming years.
And more, I think localities now want market rate residential rental housing. I can tell you, Scott will tell you, Kelly will tell you, you cannot build rental housing fast enough on Long Island. He'll be full before he starts.
We're bringing about 1,000 rental units online currently, and we're leasing way ahead of schedule in every project. There's a huge demand.
But without having some condos, it's going to continue to leave. But again, prepare. Well, my kids is where it's up. Be renting a 3,000 one bedroom. They need to save it in the future home.
They're much more difficult to finance. That's the problem, because they're much more, Right, they're much more difficult to finance, and that's the reason a lot of places don't do that and do the rental piece, because that can get approved and you can get IDA assistance for that. It's much more difficult, but it's something we all understand. Right. Yep. Yes, ma'am. Well, if you take state assistance, the answer is yes. Oh, there was a question about MBE, WBE requirements. If you take state assistance, either through ESD grants or other grants in that regard, the answer to that question is yes. The percentages change depending on the type of grant you do. I can tell you, and I run into this every day, we cannot find enough MBE, WBE contractors. We can't find them, okay? At Libby, we're doing this whole big deal now, which is very important to us, with the Urban League of Long Island, trying to bring in MBE, WBE contractors into the fold so that they can work with our companies. I have companies who are looking for MBE, WBE contractors. So if you want to give me your card afterward, I'd be more than happy to take it. But it is something we have to continue to make happen. But it is very difficult on Long Island, very difficult. Somebody else had a question back there? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jeannie from Suffolk County Community College, the non-credit department. What type of skilled labor is needed right now in the field? Like, we normally do 1-2 semester programs, get people out and work. So what do you guys need? What are you looking to hire? That's not a degree program.
We're finding a need for labor across the board. Throughout our assisted living portfolio, it's the hardest challenge that we have is finding labor. In our construction division, every subcontractor we deal with is short on labor. So it's just a huge challenge across the board right now. One of the things that we've done is created a pretty robust internship program, and we've worked with local colleges. We bring in a class every summer and try and teach them about the different things that we do. And then the objective is to hire people and train them from within. So firm believers in finding strong young talent, but there's a need across the board for sure.
And in the hospitality sector is one of the few sectors that is not degree needing, and you can start in the front of the house carrying on the bell stand, and you can be a general manager in a matter of time. So we're creating an academy, actually. I think, Natalie, you might have been on some communication with Suffolk County with Lars Clemenson, the superintendent of schools from Hampton Bays. We're creating an academy to introduce to career-ready adults the idea of what is hospitality and all of the different career paths that you can take.
I can tell you that many of our contractors and members are having great difficulty finding tradespeople. It is not just Scott, it's all throughout the construction industry on Long Island. They're having great difficulty. So whatever the community college can help with would be very much appreciated. Yeah.
Trades.
Okay.
Trades.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question for Mr. Berman. Could you just talk a little bit more about bricks? What makes the design for young workforce?
Sure, yeah. So we purchased a property in Uniondale, and we split it in half. We actually did 2 projects. One was our Sutton Landing brand, which is a senior rental, and the other is this project we're calling the Bricks. What we did was we designed it in a way that makes it more affordable for young people. So we designed 2-bedroom bathrooms where you can close your door, be alone, with a shared living space in the middle. So people can come in, share the unit. It's more affordable because it's split. And we also built an incredible clubhouse with a grab and go. We have shuttle service to the local universities. So we created an amenity package that's desirable for young people. And we're hopeful that we can do more of it across Long Island.
Very similar to dorm experience.
That's the exact idea, yeah. And you know, you have a situation at a lot of the local colleges where students rent homes. It's not the safest environment, and it's an alternative to the dorms on the universities, which frankly there aren't enough of either.
Anyone else? Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank our panel and Kelly by technology. We want to thank all of you. We hope this been insightful to you. I think you can see the progress which is being made throughout the island. And when we're here next year, we'll even have more projects to talk about, because that's the way of Long Island at the moment. Development is a very fast moving part of our economy, and one that I think will lead to great opportunities for all of our, not just young people, but even seniors like me needing a place to live. So thank you all very much. Terry, it's up to you. Back to you.
Thank you. And well, aren't we extremely lucky to have these people on Long Island, right? Just forging the way, as we said before. For the gal from Suffolk Community, Jeannie was your name? Yes, we're smack in the middle of a project right now working with Suffolk County to look at what skill sets are needed. So come see me later and we'll absolutely have that discussion. That's an important and vital discussion for a viable talent pool. So we'll follow up with that. So thank you again all for coming. Our breakout sessions start at 10:30. Again, if you make a left and just go around, you'll see the breakout sessions. Okay, thank you.